What if the waiting isn't a pause, but a plan? What if the silence isn't punishment, but preparation? What if the thing you're begging God to hurry up with is the very thing He's slowing down to protect you? You keep asking, God, why haven't you done it yet? But maybe the real question is, why am I still trying to run ahead of a God who's never late?
You've been staring at the clock again, haven't you? Scrolling, comparing, panicking because they're married and you're not. They're building empires and you're still building patience. They're holding the promise and you're still holding the prayer. You whisper, Lord, when is it my turn? And heaven whispers back, when you stop trying to write the schedule I already finished. The lie is this, that you're behind, that you've missed it, that somehow God forgot to pencil your name into the story. But that's the language of fear, not faith. And fear's clock always runs fast. See, your timeline is too small to contain His purpose. You measure life by months. He measures destiny by generations. You count birthdays. He counts breakthroughs. You think you're delayed, but He says, I'm right on time. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will accomplish all my purpose. Isaiah 46, 9-10. Do you see what that means? God wrote the ending before you even lived the beginning. And if the author of time is not in a rush, why are you? Think about it. If the seed could speak while it's buried, it would scream, I'm stuck. But heaven would whisper, you're being prepared. If the caterpillar could cry out in the cocoon, it would shout, I'm trapped. But heaven would reply, you're transforming. You are not behind schedule. You are in process. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. The delay is not a punishment. It's proof that God refuses to release you half-baked. The steps of a man are established by the Lord when He delights in His way. Psalm 37:23. But here's the question I need you to wrestle with. Are you trusting God's pace, or are you worshiping your own? Are you patient enough to walk when He says walk, or do you sprint ahead and call it faith? Because the truth is, some of us are so addicted to control, we mistake impatience for obedience. We try to manipulate outcomes God hasn't authorized. We force doors that were never meant to open. We sabotage divine timing because waiting feels too much like weakness. But waiting is not weakness. It's warfare. It's the defiance of faith that says, I'd rather stand still with God than run ahead without Him. It's the maturity that says, I will not let culture rush what heaven is still writing. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Beloved, stop watching the clock. Watch the King. Stop measuring your worth by where you thought you'd be by now. Because where you are is exactly where God intends you to be. Not because you're stuck, but because He's setting you up. And when His time collides with your trust, it will make sense why it had to take this long. Let's be real. Waiting hurts. It's not just patience, it's pressure. It's not just silence, it's stretching. And if we're honest, most of us don't hate waiting. We hate feeling forgotten in the waiting. You prayed, but nothing shifted. You obeyed, but nothing opened. You believed, but heaven seemed still. And the enemy whispered, "See, God changed his mind." But let me expose that lie right now. A delayed promise is not a denied promise. It's not rejection, it's refinement. It's not silence, it's strategy. And it's not punishment, it's preparation. The Lord is not slow to fulfill his promise, as some count slowness, but is patient toward you. 2 Peter 3:9. God is not dragging his feet, he's developing your faith. Because if he gave you everything too soon, it would crush you. If he handed you the blessing without the backbone, the weight of it would break you. So he delays, not because he's forgotten you, but because he's forming you. Think of Joseph. The dream was given in his youth, but the throne didn't come until his 30s. 13 years of betrayal, slavery, false accusations, and prison cells. Not because God lied, but because God was layering strength into his soul before he sat him on a throne. Until what he had said came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. Psalm 105:19. The promise will always test the person before the person holds the promise. God won't hand you Goliath until you've wrestled with lions and bears. He won't trust you with nations until you've been faithful with sheep. You see, the delay is the gym where destiny is built. It's the workshop where character is carved. It's the furnace where faith is forged. Here's the deeper truth most believers don't want to face. God is more committed to your growth than your gratification. He's more interested in forming Christ in you than granting every prayer to you. So sometimes the holiest thing he can do is wait. For the vision awaits its appointed time. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Habakkuk 2:3. Did you catch that? It will not delay. It may look delayed from where you stand, but from heaven's view, it's right on schedule. Because in God's kingdom, late is a language he's never spoken. And when the appointed time comes, not a second too early, not a second too late, the thing you cried over, fasted over, wrestled with, and almost gave up on will speak. And you will look back and realize the waiting didn't break you, it built you. It didn't kill your faith, it proved it. Nobody talks about this part. Everybody wants the promise, but nobody wants the process. We shout for Canaan, but we despise the desert. We pray for purpose, but we protest the path that builds it. But listen to me. The wilderness is not where God forgets you. It's where God forms you. It's the place where applause dies and obedience is tested. It's the season where your feelings won't carry you, only your faith will. It's where God strips away everything that can't survive the next level. And you shall remember the whole way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart. Deuteronomy 8, verse 2. Israel walked out of Egypt in a single night, but it took 40 years to get Egypt out of them. And God will often do the same with you. He'll remove you from the place that broke you quickly, but it may take years to remove the mindset that kept you bound. That's why the wilderness feels long. That's why prayers seem unanswered. Because God isn't just trying to deliver you from your situation, he's delivering you from yourself. The wilderness is God's gym for your soul. Every unanswered prayer is resistance training. Every not yet is a rep that builds endurance. Every dry season is strengthening spiritual muscles you'll need for the weight of the promise. And if you skip this part, if you try to rush the wilderness, you'll enter the promise too weak to remain in it. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. James 1, verses 2 through 3. Let me say it plainly. The wilderness is not punishment, it's preparation. It's not a delay, it's divine discipline. It's not rejection, it's refinement. Remember David, anointed king as a teenager, yet spending years watching sheep and hiding in caves. That wasn't a detour. That was God shaping a shepherd's heart before putting a crown on his head. Remember Moses, called to lead a nation, yet spending decades in the backside of a desert learning to lead sheep. God used solitude to prepare him for a crowd. And here's the truth most don't want to face. God is not interested in comfort. He's interested in character. He will leave you in the wilderness until your obedience outweighs your emotions, until your worship doesn't depend on what he's doing, but on who he is, until you trust his heart when you can't trace his hand. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. 1 Peter 5:10. So if you're in the wilderness, lonely, overlooked, hidden, forgotten, understand this. He hasn't abandoned you. He's building you. And the very ground you're despising is the same ground that will launch you into destiny. The wilderness is proof that God still plans to use you, because he only trains those he intends to send. So here we are, at the edge of everything you've prayed for, at the door of everything you've been waiting for, and God is still whispering the same two words he's been saying all along. Trust me. Not when it makes sense, not when it's easy, not when the doors swing wide or the answers fall from heaven, but now, while nothing is moving. Now, when the silence is deafening. Now, when every part of you wants to rush ahead. Because this is where trust is proven, not on the mountaintop with the promise in your hands, but in the valley with nothing but a word in your heart. Not when you feel him near, but when your prayers echo back unanswered. Not when you understand the plan, but when you still say, "Yes, Lord," even in the dark. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Psalm 37:7 ESV. You see, faith isn't proven in what you can control, it's revealed in what you can't. And trust isn't trusting if you're still clinging to the clock. So lay it down. Lay down the deadlines. Lay down the panic. Lay down the constant "when God" that keeps echoing in your chest. And pick up surrender. Pick up patience. Pick up peace. Because God's not late. He's lining things up. He's not ignoring you. He's igniting something in you. And one day soon, you'll see why it had to take this long. At the proper time, we will reap if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9 ESV. So don't give up now. Don't walk away now. Don't despise the wait now, because the wait is where warriors are born, where prophets are shaped, where destinies are sealed. Ask yourself, am I truly trusting his timing or just tolerating it? Am I preparing for the promise or passively complaining through the process? When the promise comes, will I be ready to carry it? Beloved, hear this. You're not behind. You're becoming. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. And the God who spoke the universe into motion is still holding your story together. So wait, not like a victim, but like a vessel. Not with fear, but with fire. Not with impatience, but with expectation. Because in the end,
The waiting won't be wasted. And when the appointed time comes, you'll realize the God you were waiting on was actually waiting on you.